So today I have got my good vet friend, Dr. Timo Tastutar, with me, and I wanted to introduce Timo, as we call him, to you as my audience today, because you're going to start seeing a lot more of Timo and I working together. I've been talking for quite some while about all the animal series of little training courses and videos that we're going to be putting out there, and Timo's the main person that I'm going to be doing these videos with, and we are calling ourselves the Vibrant Animal Team. So Timo, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, so I'm this vet biology nerd that liked to be around animals all his life and grew up with racehorses, a lot of dogs, slept in dog barns, freaked out the family as I was a little child. So I felt always very close to horses and dogs, especially cats also. Then I grew up, became a vet, and started to work first with small animals and also all the internships with race horses. And then moved on and then became more professional in sport horses, made my PhD in equine cardiology, and still moved on with horses, dogs, and cats too. Made rehabilitation and started to formulate food for dogs and cats. And there we are. So this is my journey. I mostly specialize in sports medicine, also for dogs, but also mostly nutrition, physiology, movement, and general health. That's my.
Fantastic. Excuse me, the echo we always get between Timo and I. It seems particularly bad today, but Zoom's playing around with all sorts of people, so we'll just put up with it. And you and I met when we were both working for a company looking at the dog nutrition and health impacts, and we hit it off straight away. Where are you from, Timo? Because you've got quite an interesting accent. Where are you? Where do you live?
Yeah,
Where are you from?
I was born in Germany. I have a Turkish family, and I was born and raised in Germany. And then I traveled a lot. I lived in France. I lived in Poland. Um, I lived in Turkey. I travel a lot and move from one part to the other part. And I live very long at the Dutch border, so I have a lot of Dutch qualities too, which is fun. And yeah, this is my background.
Fantastic. Now, I'm just going to tell a few of my listeners a bit about my background in animals and my qualifications, because I haven't really covered that in other videos. So, I trained as a biologist, loved biology, loved animal behavior. In fact, I loved all aspects of biology, and I really am an eternal student. I love studying. And I went into what my parents would call a proper job. I've worked in the telecoms industry on the environmental side of things. I've worked in environmental management on groundwater pollution, air quality, etc. I've worked in project management, did quite a long stint with the NHS. I've had loads of different careers, but my passion's always been animals. So when I had my children, I retrained as an equine iridologist. Can you believe it? And iridology is looking into the iris of the eye to detect inherited upcoming stresses on the bodies, inherited strengths and weaknesses, what animals of any species, humans or animals, are predisposed to, which then gives you some really important information about what lifestyle choices you can make. I then studied herbal medicine and applied zoopharmacognosy, which is animals self-medicating. So I use a lot of herbs and essential oils, but in a way where we give the animals a choice about what they need rather than me prescribing something. I've trained in red light therapy, which is amazing, animal communication, and all sorts of other things. So for the last sort of 20, 25 years, I've been working very much in animal and human health. And one of the reasons why I think we get on so well, Timo, is we're just both very passionate about sharing knowledge, aren't we?
Yeah, knowledge belongs to no one. So even the language we are speaking now is created by other people collectively. So you can only grow it by sharing it. So, and as you are, I'm an eternal student, and I love the way instead just love the, let's say, destination. So the road is the way is the destination.
Yeah, we have so many fascinating discussions on so many different topics. So as we go through the series and we do more of these together, you're going to see lots of us spinning off into other areas of life and what's going on in the current situation as well, and how it's relevant to human health and animal health. So Timo, why were you happy? You know, we've wanted to do this series for a while. It's really our work commitments that means it's taken so long. But why are you so passionate about this vibrant animal work that we're going to be sharing with people?
Well, it's like kind of obvious that the way we feed the dogs, or we as a collective human civilization, is just killing them. And the dogs are dying too early. They don't live a happy life, and they are riddled with lots of easy to prevent problems just because we feed the way we think it's right, or we are just influenced by any type of advertisement or some other people's opinions or experiences how to feed our dog the cheapest and the quickest and the most convenient way without really understanding the consequences. The problem here is the dog has no chance in choosing his own food or preparing his own food and go and hunt in this human environment. So the way we dictate it, we just destroy them. And then we claim to love them and it's our precious friend and everything. And then we feed them junk and think, what happened? Why do they have kidney disease suddenly? Why do they have joint problems? Why are they obese and they cannot move? And we say, hey, come on, Couch Potato, go down. But with that food, it cannot really go down and move again. So it's just that was the main reason why I wanted to do this with you, because it's so easy for me to talk to you openly without any prejudice, easily. And you have the same mentality of animal first and convenience second and cost third. Of course, cost is an important aspect, but if you can afford it, cost shouldn't be the main decision-making point for what you are feeding your animal with. So that's why I wanted to do this, to just share what I know from veterinary medicine, from my own experience, and from long-term experimentation with different methods, because it can only grow, it can only help.
Yeah, I was so with you on this. And um, we're starting off our first course, which is nearly ready to be ready in a couple of weeks, is an introduction to home prepared dog food. And it's a really, really good course. But throughout the whole of this series, we're going to be covering all species, aren't we? Probably mainly cats, dogs, and horses. But we'll be also doing some lives where we can talk about all sorts of animals. You know, everyone who knows me knows I'm a massive guinea pig fan. Guinea pigs, rabbits, hamsters, everything really with fur, and if it's got a tail, then even better. But yeah, I think this is why Timo and I really want to share this information with you, because both of us in our different capacities have been working with animals and their humans for a long while now, more years than we care to remember. And what we see is we see consistent patterns, and most people really love their animals, but some of the choices that we are making as their guardians, unfortunately, are shortening their lifespan, they're shortening their quality of life, and very much their enjoyment and zest for life. But also, Timo, a lot of what we're going to learn as we go through this series, it's really applicable to the humans too, isn't it?
That's correct. One of the actually key educational point from veterinary medicine is comparative medicine. So what you have to learn is your own physiology, your own anatomy, everything about human, and compare it with the animals to make a statement in your brain so you can remember everything and you can compare everything properly. The problem is that this happens only in the vet school. So we have to somehow bring this to our audience so they can really compare, know the difference between themselves and their friends, so that they understand what differences are to take in account, and what how do you say it, common points are, so you can apply it and understand what your friend is suffering from. For instance, a good example would be a dog with shoulder problems, and the steps are very short. And the client, the owner of the dog, would ask, "Why is his steps so short?" And I will tell them, "Okay, I will hold your neck very tightly. Now try to lift your shoulder." and they cannot lift their shoulder, of course. And I said, that's where the problem lies. So if you understand the neck, and when you understand your limitations with your body, you can start to not show empathy only, but really understand what might be wrong and then act accordingly.
Do you know, this is such a good point. And I used to run quite a lot of in-person courses with one of my good friends, actually. And one of the things I used to do for the horse parents that used to come on the horse. So there's a fashion nowadays for horse owners to put flash nosebands on their horses, which basically cross over and sort of restrict their breathing from their nose and their mouth. So I used to have great fun sort of taping the human's nose and mouth and saying, now run around this paddock and see how you feel physically and emotionally. Because when you see how these decisions impact on yourself, suddenly that switch goes, doesn't it? And you understand what your animals are going through. And because we're taught, isn't it interesting about how what we're taught how to look after our animals nowadays has got so far away from common sense, don't you think?
Yeah, it is. So no empathy at all. So little girls, little princesses riding their horses like it would be their last day, jumping on them. Just when I see how they pull the belt under the saddle to tighten the saddle, I'm just, wait a minute. If I would do it to you, you would scream now. You would roll on the floor. You don't do that. It's just, don't be so, how do you say, ruthless hard.
Mm.
So, but if you ask them, it's their little pony, it's the most precious thing in their life. But the way they handle it is just they're kicking it around. They don't show any empathy at all. And once I had a very, very funny client. She was very young, and she was really actually passionate about learning everything about the horse. So I had a small backpack. I filled it with 5 kilogram of medicine ball, and I put it on her back. I said, now go onto your force. She did, and I started to push from the top down. I said, try to walk. And she says, she can't. I said, yes, you can't. So why do you expect it from your horse to do it the way you cannot perform? So try to understand, try to make the life easier for your horse. So this is it. So I want people to understand their animals as they understand themselves and show the same empathy they would show to another human. That would be the easiest way.
Do you know, that's so lovely, because when we look at this with a new pair of eyes, your relationship with your animal blossoms so much. I mean, I cannot tell you how much my animals have taught me. Interesting, my mother and I went out to a cafe for lunch yesterday, and it was a lovely cafe at a garden centre, so loads of people could have their dogs with them. Now, what was interesting, when we were in there were 6 dogs, and out of the 6 dogs, 5 of them were obesely overweight. And my mother's very like me, and we go over and we get chatting to people, but we can't resist saying something. And what was really interesting is all these people had their dogs then. When you got talking to them, they love their dogs. They absolutely love them. But what we were doing is we were observing, and the dogs were sitting on a cold concrete floor, and it wasn't that warm yesterday at all. And whilst the family were eating, the dog was sitting there on this lead, and not one bit of interaction with the dog, not a good boy, not including them in the conversation or anything. It was really, really fascinating. And what we're going to show in some of these talks, we're going to be showing some really practical things about food, about exercise, about a company, about equipment, dogs, as we've already mentioned, about leads, about horses, etc. We're going to be covering a huge range of things. Timo and I can talk for hours on this.
Yeah, for sure. Yes.
But also there's going to be some really simple things. A lot of what we're talking about are going to save you money, not cost you money, and just really hopefully open your eyes and really transform your relationship with your animals, and most importantly your animals' lives. So I'm really excited about this.
Me too.
You're going on holiday for a couple of weeks, aren't you? So we're going to start this in a couple of weeks' time when you get back.
No, please, not a couple of weeks, just 1 week. Would be nice to have a couple of weeks, yeah, but I'm just gone for a week.
Oh, you never get much for break.
Yeah, no.
So in a week's time, when Timo's back from holiday, we're going to be starting this series off. The first course, let's just tell people a little bit about our introduction to home prepared dog food course and why you and I put that together as the first one.
Well, as the first one, it makes the most sense because it just explains all the basics about food, how to prepare it yourself, what to look at, and a list of ingredients where you can choose safely from, and what to avoid. And I think after watching that, the chance you make a mistake in feeding is quite low. And the chance of having a healthy meal is quite high. So I want to make sure that the people have enough knowledge and enough self-confidence just to put things together and know, yeah, this is a healthy meal. And if I keep feeding my dog like that, the possibility that he's healthy for a long time is far higher than feeding it with junk food.
And so true. I know people are going to love this because sometimes it's difficult for people to take that first step. And some nutrition people that I know, there's a chap called Bill Tara Watson who's written a really good book, and he makes a brilliant statement in there that I bring up a lot, which is that humans are the only species in the world that have forgotten how to feed themselves healthily. That's pretty key, isn't it, to what we're talking about?
That is correct. Yes, that's why we try in those courses also to explain the differences between the human and the dog. So also you understand what your requirements are compared to your dog. And it might help you on the long run to get a bit more control over your own eating habits. Although we all have to, I mean.
Yes. I
Anyway.
know, we all do. We're trying, aren't we? But yeah, so I think you're going to really enjoy that aspect of it, because once you've got someone to help you through those initial starting steps, I promise you it's really good fun. So as everyone knows, I've got 5 cats, 3 dogs. And when you get into this, it's so fun, because when you home prepare things, there's the energy and the love that goes into that. And actually, when you think about it, it's a little bit ridiculous that, you know, we sort of need animal nutritionists, because when we get right back to the basics, a lot of us know it. You hit on a very important point, that marketing and advertising and external pressures can delve us off course in terms of what we know makes common sense. So what we're there to do through this series is to help you trust yourself a lot, and, you know, not be afraid to safely try these new things out, and just the results speak for themselves, don't they, Timo?
Yes, and one of the important aspects is to retrain your intuition, because your intuition is always slightly manipulated by your environment. So once you have more self-confidence and knowledge, you start to understand things better. So intuition becomes better.
It's great. So I wish you and your family a very, very well-deserved holiday. I'm delighted to be doing this for you. As I said, it's been something we've been trying to fit into our schedules for ages. So thank you so much. We're very happy, aren't we, for people to comment and write to me and everything for suggestions they'd like to see in these video series, aren't we?
Yeah. And what would be the best for us is to learn in which parts of feeding, or which parts of your relationship with your animals you are the least self-confident. So let us know what part is the most difficult for you, or what you feel like you're the weakest at. So for us then to make it far easier for you to understand and get self-confident in it would be a big pleasure. That would be best for us.
I think that's really good. And from my point of view, what I'd like everyone to do who's got animals in their lives of whatever species, what I'd like you to do this week is to have a really good look at them, about their behavior, their energy levels, their physical health, their teeth, their coat, their skin, their hooves, if you've got horses. And what I want you to do is start making a note to yourself, really honest and open, no blame in this at all, about how vibrant you think your animals are. Because what Timo have I've noticed, Timo and I have been working for quite a few years together now on a consultancy basis, helping clients out of all sorts of species of animals.
And helping each other, of course. So.
And helping each other learn massively. I mean, I've learned so much from Timo. Is that actually a lot of us don't realize just how healthy our animals really can be and how much we can help them. It's true, isn't it, Timo? Sometimes when you make these little changes, suddenly you're like, wow, I didn't know my dog had this personality, my horse had this energy. Look at the coat, look at the vibrancy and the happiness that they display when they feel, because it's stressful for animals to not feel well.
That's correct. And the problem with the animals are not very self conscious. That means they don't compare themselves to any other situation they are in. So if a dog is really unhealthy, it will not complain about being unhealthy because that's what it's accept as norm. So you have to go out of your way, change your ways to make it healthier. So your dog knows the difference between being unhealthy and healthy. Same goes for you. For instance, before I was wearing classical sport shoes, with very high heels, I had all the time problems with my ankles. I just twisted them all the time. I had operations and whatnot. And in my mind and in my intuition, I had weak feet all my life. So it was norm. It was the norm. Then one day I was so fed up, I threw away my shoes. And at that time I was living in the south of France. And we were living in a villa with a big swimming pool. And I started to run on the hot granite around the pool every day, 10 kilometers with bare feet, till my feet become really strong. And then I suddenly started to feel the floor and started to feel really strong. I started to jump 120 from standing, which is I never had, although playing basketball all my life. So then I realized my understanding or my acceptance of weak feet was not real. So it was just I didn't know what's there actually, what the reality is. I didn't know that I was choosing the wrong shoes my whole life to make everything worse over time. So now I don't have the problem. And even if my foot goes into a big pothole without seeing it, a soft soil or anything, nothing twists, nothing turns, nothing. I just, and I don't even step on sharp stones anymore. The moment I feel like something is there, my body automatically lifts the heel and I have no problem with it. I can run on gravel bare feet now.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but so what I try to say is not how great my feet are, but how you can change um, your perception of yourself, or the dog can change their perception once the main cause of the problem is gone. So you get rid of the problem, bad nutrition to good nutrition, bad interaction to good interaction, no movement to good movement, and suddenly things open up that you would never think that would be possible. So your intuition changes towards the reality because there is a new reality now. And that will be the same for your dogs and cats and horses once you apply the right things for them. And it's our job to tell you how to do that.
It's so true. And, for me, a big one for all our animals and something I speak to you about a lot is exercise. And Timo introduced me to the barefoot shoes. And I've been meaning to get some for ages. But the thing I love about Timo is he's so good at researching things. Timo and I just love researching and getting into the nitty gritty of balancing the sort of science and the spirituality. And I would 100% back that up because I'm going to do a separate video, but I used to do a lot of gymnastics and horse riding, and in my family we joke that if we were Labrador dogs we would never have passed the hip score. We wouldn't have been allowed to breed because all my family have got bad hips. But actually, when I introduced my nutritional supplements which alkalize my body and went to the barefoot shoes, I don't get any problems with my hips at all now. I might not be able to do the level of gymnastics I used to. Oh, you've disappeared, Timo, off camera.
It's coming back. Yeah, everything's fine.
You know, these little tips, it's never too old you're never too old to introduce these changes with the dogs. I mean, Timo, you came out and got flattened by one of my dogs, but you've seen how vibrant my dogs are, aren't they? And they,
I could have the pain because of that. So
yeah,
once they really tumbled me down, but yeah, they are really good.
they're really vibrant, but they need a lot of energy, a lot of exercise. And if they didn't get a lot of exercise, not only would they suffer physically, but these dogs would suffer a lot mentally and emotionally as well. So much to talk about. We'll leave it there for now. Is there anything else you want to finish up with, Timo, before we finish this video off?
Maybe a small anecdote. So I have a neighbor from the opposite side of the street, and he has two extremely overweight, obese Labradors, like really bad. They cannot really walk. And the guy himself is a bodybuilder and extremely fit. So he's walking with them with toy speed. And I asked him, so how come you are so fit and the dogs are so unfit? He says they're eating too much and not moving much. I said, don't give them that food and let them move then. So you know, it's like, why don't you apply the same what you do yourself to the dog? Look at yourself. The guy is extremely fit. And he never thought about it. He told me that. He never thought about it. It's mind-boggling. So he's like, you know, he's so in it and not in it at all. It's in the same time.
And this is that is such a good way to finish, because honestly, I promise you, everyone, a lot of what we're going to be covering is really simple. It's not going to cost you anything. And not only will your animal's health benefit, but you will benefit and feel more vibrant about it too. So thank you so much. Have a brilliant holiday. We'll schedule in some dates to start this series off and get the first course up for when you get back. And thank you.
It was fun. Talk to you again.
Talk to you soon. Bye.